What would happen if the United States launched a military attack on Iran? In recent days, the United States has deployed aircraft carriers, fighter jets, and other military assets to its bases across the Middle East, preparing for a possible strike on Iran if Tehran continues to refuse negotiations over the nuclear non-proliferation agreement. At the same time, large-scale protests have erupted inside Iran, and the authorities have violently cracked down on demonstrators, resulting in tens of thousands of deaths. In response, the United States has already warned that it may use military force against Iran. The likelihood of a U.S. attack has increased further following the visible deployment of aircraft carriers and intensified American military activity in the Middle East. If the United States does indeed attack Iran, 7 possible scenarios could unfold. Scenario 1. Limited surgical strikes on key targets. The United States could carry out limited precision strikes on essential military targets while minimizing civilian casualties and opening a path for Iran toward democracy. Such attacks are often described as surgical strikes, meaning only critical targets are removed while leaving civilian infrastructure intact. U.S. air and naval forces would focus on Iranian military facilities, such as bases belonging to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, Basiji paramilitary bases, missile storage sites, weapons depots, and suspected nuclear infrastructure. These strikes could weaken the Iranian regime and pressure it to return to negotiations with the United States while potentially easing toward democratic reform. However, past experiences in Libya and Syria show that even after authoritarian regimes were weakened or removed by Western military intervention, instability persisted. In Syria, Western forces failed to overthrow the regime of Bashar al-Assad, and the country remained deeply unstable for years. Scenario 2. The regime survives but is forced to change policy. Under this scenario, the leadership of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei would remain in power but be forced to alter its policies. This would resemble U.S. pressure tactics previously applied to Venezuela, where regime change was not achieved, but policy adjustments were sought. In Iran's case, the United States might allow the current leadership to remain, despite dissatisfaction among many Iranians, while pressuring Tehran to stop supporting armed groups designated by Washington as terrorist organizations in the Middle East. Iran would also be required to halt its nuclear weapons program, suspend ballistic missile development, and stop violently suppressing protesters. However, enforcing such changes would be difficult, and Iran's leadership could later revert to authoritarian rule and resume its regional activities. Scenario 3. Regime overthrow and military government. In this scenario, the United States would overthrow Iran's ruling regime and replace it with a military-led government. Many analysts believe this is one of the most likely outcomes. Public dissatisfaction with Iran's current leadership has grown significantly in recent years, with repeated protests aimed at toppling Khamenei's rule. These movements previously failed due to a lack of external support and brutal crackdowns. This time, however, the United States could openly back protesters and threaten military action if repression continues. If the regime were successfully overthrown, a transitional military government aligned with the United States or Western countries could be installed, possibly composed of defectors from Iran's security forces. Scenario 4. Iranian retaliation against U.S. bases and allies. Iran could retaliate by attacking U.S. military bases across the Middle East and neighboring countries. Tehran has repeatedly warned that any U.S. strike would be met with ballistic missile and drone attacks on American installations throughout the region. Although Iran's military technology is inferior to U.S. naval and air forces, many of its missiles and drones are concealed in rural areas, mountains, and underground facilities, allowing some to evade U.S. radar systems. U.S. bases in nearby countries such as Bahrain and Qatar, both located near the Persian Gulf, would be particularly vulnerable. Iran has already demonstrated this capability by launching ballistic missiles at a U.S. base in Qatar in 2025 following American strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran could also target U.S.-aligned countries such as Jordan and Israel. Scenario 5. Mining the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. Iran could retaliate by laying naval mines in the Persian Gulf, a tactic it used during the Iran-Iraq War, 1980 to 1988. Even limited mining of the Strait of Hormuz, located between Iran and Oman, would be enough to disrupt global trade. Each year, about 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas, LNG, and 20 to 25% of global oil supplies pass through this narrow strait. Any disruption would severely impact global energy prices and shipping. Scenario 6. Attacks on U.S. warships. Iran could attempt to sink U.S. warships operating in the Persian Gulf. Despite advanced defensive systems, U.S. naval vessels could be overwhelmed if Iran launched coordinated attacks using drones, missiles, and torpedoes simultaneously. Such an event would be a major humiliation for the United States. A historical example occurred in 2000 when the U.S. destroyer USS Cole was attacked by Al-Qaeda in Aden, killing 17 U.S. sailors. Another incident occurred in 1987 when an Iraqi pilot mistakenly fired 2 Exocet missiles at USS Stark, killing 37 crew members. Scenario 7. Total collapse and civil war. The most dangerous scenario would be the complete collapse of Iran's government, leading to nationwide chaos. This would deeply concern neighboring countries such as Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Iran could descend into civil war similar to those in Syria, Yemen, and Libya. Iran is home to many ethnic minorities, including Kurds and Baluchis, who might fight to protect their territories and identities. While this outcome might benefit Israel strategically, a country of roughly 93 million people collapsing into chaos would trigger a massive humanitarian crisis and refugee flows across the Middle East. These are the 7 possible scenarios that could occur if the United States attacks Iran. The world will continue to watch closely to see how the situation inside Iran unfolds. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in the next video.